So more or less, I'm just getting off vacation here. I go back to work tomorrow night. But in the meantime, before I go out and meet a couple of people at the bar, enjoy my last night off, thought I would finally get around to doing that top 35 defensive units in Hero Colosseum vid. Now, a lot of you may not be aware of this. I've been on vacation for nearly the past 10 days. Unfortunately, that is coming to a close. That aside, let's get into what I consider to be the best defense units. Now, I've carefully read through and considered pretty much everyone's posing skills, and keep in mind, this list, like the offense units, is not concrete, which, by the way, I want to apologize to those who were let down by me not including units like the scout tanks here, and the Beerus, who ignores defense, who is part of the first batch of units that we got. And want to give a quick mention to Jehovah's Fitness. If you want to see a really skilled playthrough of the Mega Man X8 D-Make game, I recommend going to check him out. I'll put a link to it down in the description below. It's a really cool vid. But part of the reason I'm bringing him up was, and the offense units vid, he had mentioned that it was kind of pointless to include the Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta that both limit break into their own versions of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I only included all of them because I'm going off of technicality of them being different characters, but I get where he's coming from on the EX units, the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta units, you know, being better versions of the SS4 Goku and Vegeta. Just wanted to get that out of the way. But that aside, now you can go ahead and throw on whatever character skills or whatever dupes you want on these characters. In fact, you're probably going to want to change up a lot of the dupes on a lot of these units to make them overall better and more well-rounded defense units. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these. If they have damage mitigation, I went ahead and included them. If they give themselves or even their allies a lot of defense, I went ahead and included them. Or even if they have something really niche, like preventing the opponent from decreasing their own attack while also weakening their attack damage to you. Instant example, Blue Vegeta with the Focus Flash pose, I included him. You're going to see a couple of repeats here and there, and that should tell you how good a bunch of those units are. Like, for example, I included, pretty sure, both of these guys in the offense units. You can also use them to an extent defensively. That is how good they are and how versatile they are. And there are even examples like this Bardock here, and as you'll see when we get to her in a second here, the Kefla. Now, you can easily build up the crap out of their defense, very safely, mind you, because they have back trigger squares. And if you want them to eventually frontline, you'll be able to do that as the match goes on. Then there are other units who I would consider not as good, but are still viable, and you can still make work. Like this Vidal here. But yeah, any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them down below. I know I'm not really going into a whole lot of detail on these guys. I will even admit, I'm not really the best when it comes to picking out units for a specific category, whether it's offense, defense, or even both. I can really only give my opinion on these things, you know, nothing concrete. And oddly, I still get a lot of questions from people saying, which unit should I use? What would you recommend for an offense or even a defensive team? What's going to help me get through story mode? I can tell you what I recommend, but at the end of the day, your choice. They're your units. And unfortunately, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you if you're a console player trying to dupe everyone, you know, 10 out of 10. You're going to need at least 11 of the same unit, and I get this question all the time. Could you limit break a bunch of the same unit into like an EX, for example, or should you dupe them out entirely and then EX limit break? Always dupe them entirely before EX limit breaking, because otherwise that's more time and resources that you have to waste and obtain, because you can just max them out before the EX limit break and EX limit break them when you're good and ready. That's less chips for you to grind, so you absolutely want to be doing it that way. But yeah, any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them down below. If there aren't any units that I didn't include on this list that you felt should have been included, feel free to let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'm gonna go get some rest here before I head out for the bar, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.